If you want to see a 2 hour long female pipe dream of what the ultimate romantic fantasy with a rich Igbo man is like, which is basically money minus tradition, a film that makes you go, damn, every time Bambam is shown standing or sitting or even walking. And the movie you should definitely not take career advice from because this clown resigns her job to go and face a non functioning perfume business. Love in Every Word is the movie for you. Side note, for the 98% of men who are watching this with their significant others, you are going to involuntarily say for obvious reasons once you see Bam Bam standing up. So don't forget to add, what kind of rubbish big BBL Bum Bum is this now? With a very serious face so that your woman doesn't side eye you until the movie is over. Repeat as needed as the movie progresses. The movie is produced by Omoni Oboli and is currently showing on Omoni Oboli TV on YouTube. Don't forget to check it out and support her. I got some requests on my IG and Twitter to review this one, but I was already going to do it. So here we go. We are introduced to Chioma, played by Bambam, which weirdly seems to be her, like, is that really her government name? She was born and her parents decided on Bambam. Weird. Chioma is an ad executive who earns about 750k monthly. But since it's a girl's world and girl math rules, she is somehow able to afford a waterfront apartment in Ikoyi. In this economy, that's like a 1 bedroom inside a 3 bedroom shared house in Yaba. Chioma is under a lot of pressure at work because she has so much to do. But honestly, I think it's because she only ever has the Notes app on her Mac open with just exactly 3 notes, even when she's talking about her email or PowerPoint slide. So, Bam Bam, maybe do some actual work and stop writing nonsense on the Notes app when the camera is actually showing your screen. She also has some problems at the home front because her incompetent soon to be ex boyfriend blew her 5k on forex trading or something. In a moment of clarity, she realizes that the boy has just been using her head to play Ludo over the last 2 years. So she throws him out with the clothes on his back, with the singlet on his back because she actually takes the clothes back since she bought them for him. She soon has to attend her cousin's wedding at the village, and while there, she happens to cross paths with one Chief Obiora. And in a moment of tipsiness, and contrary to what she has been telling her mother, who has been begging to introduce her to eligible single men in town, she goes on to have a good time hanging out and drinking a beer brand, which obviously didn't pay for sponsorship. So Omoni Oboli decided that this movie is taking place in a universe where people readily imbibe alcohol with serviettes wrapped around the name. Chief Obiora is played by the variable Uzor Arukwe, who is written as a traditional-looking Igbo man, complete with the thick Igbo accent and the never-ending river of flowing money somewhere behind him. I think I first saw Uzor Arukwe in the movie Suspicion, where he was Tanze's opposite, and I think he was a pretty good actor in that one. And yeah, I pretty much like him in this one. So during the course of their conversation, Chioma slips off in his room, and our guy respectfully sleeps on the chair. Aww. And then misses her escaping back to Lagos early in the morning. Later on, when she was being debriefed by her girlfriend, she informs them that she didn't even take his phone number because he has a life in the East and she was not interested in a long distance relationship. But as you, dear listener, might know, long distance relationships are hard only for people who are poor. And Chief Obiora is not poor. So he shows up at her office the next day with an entire dance troupe, weirdly, just to come and ask for her phone number. Chioma, who was at the moment being lambasted by her boss, runs downstairs to see what's happening. And I think this is the first time that her boss is seeing Uzor. Because, I mean, not just in the movie, I mean, just in real life in general. Because she was dripping, she was tripping for like 5 seconds before she remembered that she's supposed to be the evil character in this movie. Honestly, I don't blame her. I mean, have you met an Igbo man who comes with a dance troupe to your office before? I know I am watching a cheesy, feel-good movie, but somehow it just gets a bit too sweet. Like, I'm like, God, I'm going to have diabetes soon. When the boss wants to throw Uzor out, the security man comes and tells her that, oh, well, he bought the building this morning or something, so he's now the new landlord. I mean, what? How, in what world does it make sense to first buy a building that somebody you're interested in is working at, and then come to their office to ask for their phone number with a dance troupe. I think the dance troupe thing was enough. I don't really understand how the building had to be factored into it. And buildings are not bought overnight. These things take. What if the landlord didn't want to sell? Okay, well, it's a feel good movie. Abi, let's just go on. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Uzor on first meeting her. That's Chief Obiora on first meeting her at the village. I told her that she was going to be his wife very resolutely. And I'm telling you, this movie is just like a stereotype of traditional Igbo men because they usually say things like this too. They don't even have to meet you to marry you or to decide that they are going to be that you are going to be their wives. But okay, let's move on. I first noticed this guy's iPhone and I'm like, oh, wrong now. Come on, man. We don't do that. We don't use iPhones. And then I realized that he also had a Samsung Fold. And then everything was good with the world because I don't know which proper Igbo man uses an iPhone. What are we supposed to do with it? Like Apple Music, iCloud. Come on, get out of here. Odogwu takes her out on a date and he listens to her, asks about herself, which kind of surprised her and obviously made her quite, how shall I put it, receptive, let me say. She invites him into her house at the end of the date, and he very gentlemanly refuses, saying that, oh, this whole thing is not about sex, and I respect you, and I really want to marry you, or something like that. And then she proceeds to not pick his call anymore. See, if you're watching this movie alone as a man, it will not make any sense to you. You have to watch it with a woman so that you can look at her in consternation and be like, what the hell is happening? And then she will tell you, oh, yes, it all makes sense. Just rubbish. She's just doing rubbish as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so he begins to send gifts to her office, and for some reason, she stops picking his call. And when she's being quizzed by her friends, the reason being that he has an Anibotic accent or whatever. You were about to sleep with him like a night before. What are you talking about? Did you not hear the accent when you almost dragged him into the house? Is this girl drunk? Even her friends who would normally side with her think that she's insane. She keeps her distance until he even has to come to her office and talk to her. Now, something you get in this movie is that this lady, Bambam, Choma, can blow hot and cold, even in the same scene. One moment she doesn't want to talk to him, the next moment she's typing "my love" on the phone. I don't even get it myself. Like I said, maybe you definitely have to watch. If you're a guy, you have to watch this with a babe. So at some point, he comes to her office and then waits for her until she closes work and then invites her over to his place for dinner, which he has cooked. I think when they arrive, the food is already laid out. And he says that he cooked it. And I'm here wondering, when did you cook it? You've been at her office all day. You said, and I believe that you did not hire anybody. So when did you cook this entire thing and put all this kind? Was it in the morning before you left? So the food is on eatable now or super cooked? Like what? Anyway, like I said, this movie is like a fever dream of a woman's idea of romance. But so let's just go on. Finally, at this home date, she first starts with all the weird excuses. Oh, your life is in Anambra, or blah blah blah. I'm all about the hustle. But then she ends up just admitting that it's his accent, which kind of puts a damper on the whole thing. The guy just calms down immediately. Odogwu understands that he cannot change his accent. So okay, no wahala now. They finish the meal or whatever, and then he drives her home. During this downtime in which she's all distracted and sad again for some reason, God, her mother sort of appears at her house to confirm that she went on a date with Odogwu Obiora. And so the mother flew from Anambra or traveled from Anambra to Lagos to come and ask her daughter if she went on a date with somebody who lives in Anambra. I mean, she has the guy's number, right? The guy came for the cousin's wedding. I was a bit. Is this movie real? Oh, yeah, of course. Of course, it's not real. They do these weird things that they just think we'll just overlook, like buy a building to ask for somebody's phone number and all this weird stuff. Why would your mother travel all the way, like halfway across the nation to come and ask something that she could have asked on the phone? After a few days of loneliness, Chioma calls Odogwu up and they get talking again, and this time to the surprise of Odogwu. At some point, he even runs into Chioma and her friends at a jewelry store and then becomes a jewelry bonanza for everyone. And he did spend a lot of money in this particular episode at the jewelry store. I mean, he bought jewelry for everyone, and he bought something for her. It's something she had been looking at, a necklace, which was what, about $17,000. Come on, Mrs. Omoni Oboli, just take it easy. Money actually exists in an account, and accounts don't usually have infinite zeros. $17,000 is like 25 million naira, right? Come on, just take it easy. I know filmmakers have a problem with numbers, and I know that the guy is rich, but just make this thing a bit believable. He has bought a building to get her number. He has sent her gifts every day to her office. He has now spent 17,000 on a piece of jewelry, and this is for somebody who is not, who barely even talks to him. And now then begin to come. Is this guy like a drug dealer of the kind that NAFDAC sees, or what? Does he do coke? Because how can somebody have this much money and just be throwing it all about just to gain someone's romantic interest? It's does not at all realistic. If he's not a drug dealer, then he's a madman, because all these things he's doing is not. I know it might seem super romantic to these women, but when you think about it logically, like, have you ever asked what he actually does for a living? At some point during this new run on their relationship, he has a run-in with her boss, and he screams at her because she calls Chioma in the middle of the night to demand for some work or something. And so afterwards, at her office, he begins to talk about maybe investing in Chioma's perfume business, so that she can live the whole office life. But Chioma is uncertain about this idea, because she really doesn't want to owe her success to her boyfriend or to a man in general. And so he asks, "So what if I marry you? Will you still not take investment money from me?" And she falls into a whole new existential crisis again, where she's like, she doesn't know if she wants to get married or whatever, because she does not want to make her life more complicated. She doesn't want, she just wants to basically just do her own thing. And understandably, Odogwu has had it, and he was like, "Come, you have to decide. Do you want to marry me or not?" And she's not able to give a good answer, so he just ups and leaves. Her boss later tries to get on her nerves again, and at this point, Chioma has had it. She just stands up and resigns, taking along with her assistant, just so that she can now focus on the perfume business, which I'm not exactly sure where she's going to get the money from, since she has not been able to restock since the beginning of this movie. So I don't know what she's resigning to go and face, an empty shop. Don't get me wrong, it was a nice, empowering scene, but it had no logical conclusion that I could see. Somebody still has to pay for her beachfront Ikoyi apartment, right? So I don't know, fraud. I don't know. Chioma's friends now call on Obiora. I don't really know how they got his number, but they contact him for a meetup somewhere, where they reveal to him what they think, or what they believe that the problem with Chioma and his relationship is. So it turns out that it's the most likely thing is that he reminds her very much of her father. Apparently, while she was growing up, she discovered that her mother was not her father's actual main wife, that he had a whole family in the UK, and that her mother was his mistress. So she was actually a bastard child, and this whole thing got to her, and she had been trying to cope with it by dating men without an Igbo accent, men who are finding themselves, people that she might uplift, and men who are not Igbo. So yeah, so this reason, it actually it works for me. But I'll get more into why I think it also sucks later on in my verdict after I'm done. So he listens to them, even interrupts them rudely, and then leaves because he said he has a flight to catch. And in the very next scene, by some weird continuity, I don't know how much time has passed, or if any time passed at all, the friends run into Choma's room and be like, "Oh, we have a surprise for you." And this guy, who I thought had just left abruptly, is right there in Choma's house. So I'm going to assume this happened on perhaps another night, or I don't know. I don't know. I know it's supposed to be like a surprise, but I don't think it was built out well. Also, when she was asked what she was doing, she said that she was reading some emails, but she has already very, very dramatically resigned. So, what email is she reading again? So, Dogu appears at the apartment and then they get talking and he's talking about how he really loves her and that no other shoe will drop. He does not have a secret family somewhere, and now he understands why she refuses to spend his money, all that stuff. And she too goes back to all the I really love you, blah 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 blah. But then she then decides to propose to him. So apparently she has already bought a ring. And I'm trying to understand the thought process. She was currently not speaking to him because they were not in talking terms at all. So is it in this interregnum that she goes that she bought a what was the thought process behind buying a ring for someone that you are not actively dating or even talking to? So well, it turns out too that him too has also gotten a ring, and of course he absolutely refuses to be proposed to, and then he does the proposal, and that's pretty much where the movie ends. Well, all right then. So okay, so let's just go to the verdict. Now, in general, it's a feel good movie. It's sounds nice. It doesn't look very good, and the sound engineer needs like a big slap because I don't really the a lot of the scenes are very hissy and very noisy. I don't really know, and it reminds me a lot of Smart Money Woman in production quality, which is that it's not a technically very good production. I don't get the color grading and the color choices, the color grading and the audio. There's a lot of hissing in many scenes. For you. Right. And I have always wondered how like incompetent you have to be as an audio engineer to allow the hissing. Even when I make my own YouTube videos, I have like ACs, I have things making noise around me, and every time I finish my audio, I have to use an audio filter to remove any other noise that is not my voice. And I do this using the same software that I'm pretty sure these people in Hollywood. I use the DaVinci Resolve, which is a very high class video editing software, and it's free. I don't get how an audio engineer, what their salt would listen to this and be like, yes, this is fine, it's insane. Anyway, to the movie itself, it's a feel good, super sweet movie. Sweet to the point of like extreme cheesiness. Like, sometimes it's just too sugary for my insides. Sometimes it looks like it was written by a man who has like the wildest hallucinations or for how to romance a woman into submission. And other times it seems like it was written by a woman who just wants to dream about how she wants to be romanticized. It gave me these two weird points of view, and I did not think it was at all realistic. It was just a bit much for my liking. I don't really know anything about the chief, and I hardly know anything about the girl. The problem I have with Odogwu is that he is just a one note character. He has money. That is his character. I'm rich and I can do anything so that you will marry me. I don't see anything else that he brings to the table. I don't see what great conversation that he brought, or I don't get it. And the way she fell so easily for him is like, I don't know. I know I'm rambling, but it was just a bit a bit too much for me. For Bambam herself, I don't really understand how that father thing just appeared at the end. Unfortunately, the writer of this movie didn't maybe seem to understand a bit of the concept of Chekhov's gun. Ideally they should have no, said something, even in passing, at the beginning or the middle of the movie regarding her father. Just something to know that she doesn't have a very good family situation, so that at the end of it, we can all circle back and be like, oh, that makes sense. The reason that her friends gave actually made sense to me. It's just unfortunate that it only came up 10 minutes to the end of the movie, which is crazy because if your father's neglect and denial has basically altered the course of your life from childhood till now, it should have been mentioned at some point in the interactions with friends, interactions with other people, just so that we would see it. So I don't really buy this 10 minutes to the end. Oh, I'm her father this, I'm her father that. It's a good reason. It just should have been brought in earlier and more naturally. In general, it's not. It's like if you. It's not much of a movie, right? It's not much of a movie. All this buying an entire building to collect somebody's phone number and all this flying left and right to Lagos to have a date with. So I don't know. It was just a bit too much. Too, like I said, too sugary for me. I like Uzor Arukwe's acting. I thought it was pretty good, but then perhaps it is because but then perhaps it's good because it's just one note. All he has to do is smile and speak loving things, which most men, especially Igbo men, can do. For a whole week straight. So I didn't really see any range of emotions. It's just a little disappointment when she says no, and then back to the cheesy, weird lines. Bambam herself has a very, very sweet voice. She has the most bedroomest voice I have ever heard on TV. I'm not sure about the acting because all she did was be a bit sulky and all, but I think it was a good performance in general. By the way, did anybody notice how stacked Bambam's boss was? When I first saw the one, I was like, what is happening? Is it like a competition for everybody in this office? A very pretty woman who somehow becomes wilder and wilder as the runtime of the movie progresses. First of all, she was just a bit harsh, and then later on when she calls Bambam in the middle of the night for the phone call that Odogwu picks, is now you are very stupid. You are very come on, from where to where now? Just take it easy. You didn't have to escalate so fast in so little time. Overall, well, it's the kind of movie that I don't know, you put on playing while you're trying to fry palm oil for palm oil stew, like I'm doing. But it's not, it's not like a technical achievement or something. But I guess it's feel good and it kind of tracks. If it would have tracked better if it had come out during Valentine, then it would have just been some cheesy Valentine movie. I don't know why it came out in March. So that kind of detracted a bit from what I think its purpose should have been. But yeah, over 5, I would give it a 2.5 over 5, perhaps. Yeah, 2.5 over 5. I think it should be more than fine enough for it. It's a one-track story with one-note characters, with barely any storyline, and the most important piece appearing 10 minutes to the end. That's not really how to write a movie, but in the end, it's still a movie. So yeah, that's it for me for this review. If you enjoy what I do here and you want to support the channel, I would appreciate a follow on Instagram or on Twitter. The links are in the description below, but it's equal reviews on both platforms. Thank you. Someone recommended I review, is it Heart on the Line? I checked it out. That thing is too no. I went through the comments section of the series on YouTube, and I could see that a lot of people were in love with that guy. I think it was Yomi, the person who played Yomi. I forget the actor's name now, but I really think that he's not much of an actor. So I realized that if I said anything weird or negative about him, I think there are a lot of women that are going to look for my house and come and burn it down. So yeah, I think I'll just pass on that one. All right then, I will see you on the next one.